Pathways to Optimum Health. Nutrition for the massage therapist. Welcome. My name is Denise Cagini, and my colleague will be speaking for me today. I'm a licensed massage therapist in 4 states, state certified in California, and nationally certified in massage and bodywork since 2001. I have 17 years experience in therapeutic massage and bodywork and 10 years experience as a massage therapy instructor in the states of California and Missouri. In addition, I am a naturopath with 10 years of experience at a wellness center in Missouri. Currently, my passion is teaching, having a private practice called Transformation Through Touch, and working in the spa industry. Here are the guidelines for this online class. After you have completed the lecture, you will take an exam and email your answers to cugini.d@gmail.com. When you receive a 70% or higher pass grade, you will receive an e-certificate of achievement for 4 continuing education hours of this NCBTMB approved online massage therapy distant learning course. Thank you and enjoy the lecture. This class will be broken into 3 parts. We'll begin with Part 1, Raw Foods. Raw foods are ingredients grown from the earth. The ingredients in this presentation have followed a single natural path: seed, soil, harvest, to the table. The primary goal of organic farmers is to grow the most healthful, flavorful vegetables and fruits possible, and to cultivate them in accordance with the rhythms of nature. Raw foods. The preparation of raw and living foods can be quite complex and requires study to learn the basic properties of raw foods and how foods act when handled in various ways. Raw cuisine is a way of eating that embraces healthful living, and it's also a wonderful, exciting approach to food preparation that celebrates the flavors and textures brought forth to us by Mother Earth. What does raw mean? Unrefined. Whole foods are foods that are unprocessed and unrefined. Whole foods do not have any added ingredients. When food is refined, there is a huge loss of nutrients. So what are refined foods? Refined foods are highly processed foods that have been stripped of their original nutrient content and fiber. Refined white flour, white pasta, and white sugar are all some examples of this. Whole foods offer 3 main benefits. They provide greater nutrition for being a source of more complex micronutrients. They provide essential dietary fiber, and they also provide naturally occurring protective substances such as phytochemicals. Uncooked. Raw foods consist of unprocessed, raw, vegan foods that have not been heated. Raw foodists believe that foods cooked above 115 degrees Fahrenheit, which is 46 degrees Celsius, begin to lose their enzymes and thus a significant amount of their nutritional value. And at that point, higher than that, become harmful to the body. Whereas uncooked food provides living enzymes and full nutrition. Many people clarify that they eat a high raw or a certain percentage of raw foods in their diet, such as 75% raw diet or 95% raw. Hydrated means that raw foods in sufficient variety will furnish the body with carbohydrates and sugars that we need. It also provides all the water that we need in the food. Raw vegetables are builders and regenerators for the body. They contain amino acids, minerals, salts, enzymes, vitamins, and water that are needed by the human body. It provides us with everything that we need, provided that they are used fresh, raw, and without preservatives. What raw foods can be eaten? The list is long. Vegetables, fruits, seeds, nuts, wheatgrass, sprouted nuts, seeds and legumes, vegetable and fruit juices, and fermented food, non-alcoholic. So let's look at vegetables. Vegetables offer the most diversity due to the hundreds of varieties available for consumption. They supply nearly all the vitamins and minerals required for health. Starchy vegetables contain complex carbohydrates which furnish energy, for example, things like winter squash or potatoes. Most vegetables provide dietary fiber, very important to the body. Some vegetables contribute to your protein intake. Vegetables contain no cholesterol, have little or no fat, and are low in calories. Vegetables are nutrient dense, which means their store of nutrients is relatively high for the number of calories that they supply. So let's take a look at the classifications of vegetables, and we'll go into each one individually. So you have your leafy vegetable, your flower, buds, and stalks. You have your seeds and pods, your roots, bulbs, and tubers. Let's go over each vegetable classification. So leafy vegetable. Here's a picture of chard, which is a leafy green vegetable, often used in Mediterranean dishes. While leaves are always green, chard stalks vary in color. Chard has been bred to have highly nutritious leaves at the base, at the expense of the root. So, some leafy greens. As a vegetable classification, some examples are salad greens, spinach, collards, kale, radicchio, watercress, and the tops of turnips and beets. The nutritional strong points for this classification is natural water and few carbohydrates or calories. And they're an excellent source of beta-carotene, vitamin C, great for fiber, and folacin, which are B vitamins, with varying quantities of iron and calcium, depending on which leafy green you're using. The next category, here a picture of an asparagus, is an example of the stalk category, flower buds and stalks. Asparagus is a spring vegetable. It's a flowering perennial plant. The asparagus is native to most of Europe, North Africa, and Asia, and is widely cultivated as a vegetable crop. So flower buds and stalks, some examples are things like celery, broccoli, cauliflower, asparagus, and artichokes. And the nutritional strong points for this group are that they're high in vitamin C, calcium, potassium, and dietary fiber. And cauliflower and broccoli offer cancer-fighting compounds. Our next category are seeds and pods. Here's a picture of the pea, which is in its pod. The pea is most commonly the small spherical seed, and each pod contains several peas. So the category of seeds and pods, some examples are things like snap beans, lima beans, peas, and sweet corn. And the nutritional strong points for this category is that they're high in protein, high in carbohydrates, high in B vitamins, zinc, potassium, magnesium, calcium, and iron. Our next category are the roots, tubers, and bulbs. Here's a picture of some of those groups: onions, carrots, potatoes, and turnips, which are examples of our next category. So the roots, bulbs, and tuber examples, like the onions, turnips, potatoes, beets, carrots, radishes, and parsnips, to name a few. The nutritional strong points for this category: for example, potatoes are a good source of vitamin C and potassium. And sweet potatoes and carrots contain abundant amounts of beta-carotene. Radishes and turnips are a good source of fiber and vitamin C, and onions and garlic help lower blood pressure and cholesterol levels. Okay, now we're into our next category, and this has to do with fruits. Fruits provide some vitamins and minerals, and the main contribution is vitamin C, beta-carotene, which is a precursor of vitamin A, potassium, iron, calcium, and magnesium. Fruits provide a combination of sugars in varying proportion, such as fructose, glucose, and sucrose. Fruits are low in calorie content due to the natural water, which can make up as much as 80 to 90% in most fruits. Fruits also contain insoluble fibers. Most fruits also contain soluble fibers that takes the place of pectin. Fruits are nearly free of fat and contain no cholesterol. So let's take a look at now fruit classifications. I've broken it down into the following. You have plums, drupes, berries, citrus, and melons. So our first category will be the plums. Here's a picture of pears. The pear is a plum fruit of the tree of the rose family that typically has pale green or brownish skin. It's a firm, juicy flesh and an oblong shape at which a base ends in a taper. And then it tapers upward to a narrow stem at the end. A plum is a type of fruit produced by a flowering plant. Plums have a firm, moist flesh surrounding a central seedy core. The best known example of a plum is the apple. Another example of plants that produce fruit classified as plums are hawthorn, pear, and quince. Our next category are drupes. Examples of a drupe are peach, cherry, and plum. A drupe is any fruit, as a peach, cherry, or plum, consisting of an outer skin, a usually pulpy and succulent middle layer, and a hard and woody inner shell, usually enclosing a single seed. Some listed are avocados, plums, nectarines, peaches, apricots. Our next classification are the berries. Some examples shown are strawberries, blueberries, and blackberries, and cranberries. Berries are a small, roundish, juicy fruit without a stone. Any fruit that has had its seeds enclosed in a fleshy pulp, for example, like a banana or tomato. The botanical definition of a berry is a fleshy fruit produced from a single ovary. Grapes are a good example. The berry is the most common type of fleshy fruit, in which the entire ovary wall ripens into an edible pericarp. Examples: papaya, banana, strawberry, blueberry, kiwi, blackberry, boysenberry. Our next classification is citrus. Citrus is any group of often thorny trees and shrubs. One of the rue family, grown in warm regions for their edible fruit, such as an orange or a lemon, with firm, usually thick rind and pulpy flesh. Our next category are the melons. Melons are a large, round fruit of a plant of the gourd family, with sweet, pulpy flesh and many seeds. The edible flesh of such fruit is a slice of melon. Melons are divided into two classes. You have your watermelons, and you also have your muskmelons. And you'll be learning later in this presentation that there is a saying that goes with them, which is, eat them alone or leave them alone. And we'll explain that a little later in the presentation. Now on to another raw food grouping, which are your nuts and seeds. Things like almonds, walnuts, cashews, hazelnuts, macadamia nuts, pecan, pistachio, a long list. Most nuts are the seeds or dried fruits of trees. The edible seeds grow on vegetables or flowering plants like pumpkin or sunflower. And the nutritional strong points of nuts and seeds is that they have a substantial reserve of protein. Some provide vitamins and minerals, and the main contributing ones are vitamin E, thiamine, niacin, riboflavin, calcium, magnesium, copper, zinc, selenium, and iron. Nuts have a high content of fat, which is mostly unsaturated, or the healthy fat we need. Here's a picture of sprout jars, and we'll talk about what is sprouting as a raw food. Sprouts, many of the proteins in sprouts are pre-digested, which means that they are broken down into their constituent amino acids. Sprouts have high levels of simple sugars, which put them in a category of quick energy food, and they're packed with enzymes. The nutritional strong points for sprouts are they contain some vitamins, minerals, and protein. They're an excellent source of vitamins A, C, D, E, and B complex. They're also an excellent source of minerals like calcium, magnesium, phosphorus, chlorine, potassium, sodium, and silicon. The next has to do with wheatgrass. Here's a picture of a wheatgrass juicer that's used to extract the wheatgrass juice. Wheatgrass contains vitamins, minerals, enzymes, chlorophyll, and protein. Chlorophyll is the blood of the plant. It's the protein of life. When compared to a molecule of hemoglobin, that's the oxygen carrier in our blood, chlorophyll is most identical. The nutritional strong points of wheatgrass is that it's high in chlorophyll, chlorine, vitamins C, A, E, F, K, B1, B2, B6, niacin, and pantothenic acid. Our next grouping has to do with, here's a picture of probiotics. Probiotics, usually dairy, and you would want to substitute goat for cow. It's a food or a dietary supplement containing live bacteria that replace or add to the beneficial bacteria normally present in our gastrointestinal tract. Elie Metcalfe first suggested the possibility of colonizing the gut with beneficial flora in the early 20th century. Probiotics, or the old-fashioned name, which was fermented foods. Fermentation is a chemical change accompanied by effervescence and suggestive of changes produced in inorganic material by yeast. It's a process by which food goes through a chemical change caused by enzymes produced from bacteria, microorganisms, or yeast. It is a pre-digested food that is rich in enzymes and provides lactobacillus bacteria. The nutritional strong points are that it provides natural lactic acid and enzymes that are beneficial in metabolism. The lactic acid destroys harmful intestinal bacteria. It promotes better assimilation of nutrients. It improves our intestinal tract. It helps with constipation and provides vitamin production within the intestine. Some fermented foods are like the Rejuvenac drink, sauerkraut, miso, tempeh, kombucha, soy sauce, and the list goes on. Now we're going to go into part 2, which is proper food combining. Trophology is the science of combining to allow for optimal digestion, optimal absorption of nutrients, and optimal expulsion of waste. Most of the food combining rules were first set down long ago by such hygienic pioneers as Drs. John H. Tilden and William Howard Hay. Food combining is all about chemistry. The human digestion system is the site of constant chemical activity. Primarily, chemistry, or food combining, explains how certain foods induce the necessary enzymatic secretions for proper digestion. Changes are carried out by the digestive enzymes secreted in the mouth, stomach, small and large intestines. When this chemistry is thrown out of balance by demanding that the body process incompatible food combinations, undigested food remains stagnant within the intestinal tract, which then leads to putrefaction and fermentation and the overgrowth of the bad bacteria and toxicity. This in turn leads to many illnesses, chronic conditions, food allergies, bloating, metabolic problems, and the bulging and distorted body shapes that we see everywhere these days. Different foods require different digestive tracts. Every food is different. Some are alkaline, others are acidic, some are high in fat, others are high in fiber. Because foods are different, paying attention to the basic rules of food combining can give your body the chance it needs to properly use food. Have you ever left a steak and a tomato on the counter for a week? Watch what happens. They clearly have unique processes of decomposition, and it won't take long to realize that a rancid steak is not something you want sitting on your countertop, let alone inside your body for very long. It is a fact in chemistry that alkalis and acids are opposite and that they neutralize each other. All starchy foods digest in an alkaline medium. The starch-splitting enzymes in the mouth, such as ptyalin and salivary amylase, is destroyed by acid. So if breads or cereals or potatoes are eaten with berries or citrus fruits or other acid-bearing foods, the digestion of carbohydrates is delayed, which would then cause fermentation, bloating, and gas in our system. So the typical American breakfast, like orange juice and cereal, really doesn't do a body good. The acid of the orange juice suspends the alkaline breakdown of the cereal, and the cereal just sits and ferments and creates poor digestion. Eating protein and starches together begets indigestion. So let's look at our protein and starch combination. The combination of protein and starch in a single meal is the worst possible food combination there is. The body begins by producing the alkaline enzyme ptyalin from our mouth when a starch is chewed. This begins the breakdown of the starch. But when the food reaches the stomach, this presence of this alkaline enzyme prevents the digestion of proteins in the stomach by pepsin and other acid stomach secretions. The meat begins to then putrefy within the gut, and bacteria attacks the undigested meat. The result is a heavy, bloated feeling, gas and toxic waste bleeding into the bloodstream. So you want to separate concentrated proteins like meat and fish and eggs from starches like bread and rice and potatoes. So your typical lunch sandwich really does not work. Another exception to the starch-protein combination is that avocados combine well with all starchy vegetables and grains. Legumes combine fairly well with grains, and tomatoes go well with cucumbers and onions, just not leafy greens. I have a saying, no two things can occupy the same space at the same time. Thank you, Einstein, for that. It's not possible for two processes, that of starch digestion, requiring an alkaline medium, and that of protein digestion, requiring an acid medium, to both go on in the stomach at the same time with any great efficiency. The rising acidity of the stomach will neutralize the saliva, destroying the salivary amylase and ptyalin, and bring starch digestion to a halt. If no protein is taken with the starch, no acid is poured into the stomach, and starch digestion proceeds on schedule. But the protein-to-protein combination, the gasid acidity and type, the timing, the strength of secretion for various proteins is not uniform. Therefore, it's best not to combine nuts with cheese or any of the following concentrated proteins from each other, like nuts, soybeans, cheese, eggs, and fleshy foods. Now, alfalfa sprouts, which are considered a green vegetable, may be used with concentrated protein. For optimal digestive efficiency, only one variety of nuts or seeds, or even a protein, should be used at a sitting. If digestive problems are not a factor, it may be possible to eat 2 or 3 varieties together without harm. Some personal experimentation is needed in this area. You may desire to combine one variety of seeds with one variety of nuts, or not combine high-fat nuts like Brazil and macadamians together. There are also good results in combining high-fat nuts with lower-fat seeds. So a fundamental rule: eat starch foods at separate meals from acid foods. This means avoid foods such as cereals, breads, potatoes, parsnips, squash, beans, and other starchy foods with flesh foods like eggs, meat, cheese, nuts, or other protein foods. You want to refrain from eating these starchy foods with things like berries, oranges, grapefruit, pineapple, or other acid fruits. There is enough oxalic acid in cooked spinach to delay or suspend starch digestion. So acid indigestion arises from wrong food combinations. Things like citrus fruits and cereals for breakfast, meat and potatoes at dinner, sandwiches, hamburgers, and hot dogs, pastries with protein and fruit, pastries with acid fruits, melons with anything except other melons, and protein combinations, because different proteins require different processes to digest. For example, when meat is consumed, the strongest enzymatic reaction occurs during the first hour, whereas milk or eggs take longer to digest. Combining similar meats like lamb and beef is typically fine, but complex combinations should be avoided. You want to avoid meals that combine multiple concentrated proteins like fish and cheese, meat and milk, meat and eggs. Next, we talk about fruits. They don't combine well with starches. The digestion of fruits requires hardly any time at all in the mouth and stomach, whereas starches require most of their digestion time in those areas. The fruit sugars are quickly absorbed into the intestine, while the starch requires digestion in the mouth and stomach. If the fruit sugars are held up in the stomach while the digestion of starch continues, the food will putrefy and decay in the system. Now, looking at the combination of starch and sugars, when sugar and starches are combined in the mouth, the secretion of an enzyme called ptyalin, the alkaline enzyme required for digestion of starches, is halted, and starch remains undigested. The sugar fermentation in the gut creates acidic compounds that further inhibits the digestion of starches. So as a general rule, eat starches and sugars separately. Fruits do not combine with proteins. The fruit sugars leave the stomach quickly and are absorbed directly into the intestine, while the protein requires substantially more time digesting in the stomach. If the sugars are held back in the stomach while trying to digest the protein, the food and the fruit sugar mix will putrefy. Sugar also prohibits the stomach's ability to produce gastric juices, and so it passes through the stomach to be processed into the small intestine. When combined with a concentrated protein, sugar inhibits the digestion of the protein, and then is itself prevented from reaching the small intestine as it is combined in the stomach with undigested proteins. This causes fermentation in the gut and an explosion of bacteria, both of which are highly toxic to the body. So combining proteins and sugars together in the same meal should be avoided. Fruits do not combine with vegetables. An easy way to remember this is that fruits are cleansers and vegetables are builders. So you don't want to combine fruits and vegetables. No way can you build a house and clean it at the same time. Tomatoes are considered a fruit and are an exception to this rule, along with apples in moderation and even papayas. Tomatoes combine with the following vegetables: celery, okra, cucumbers, eggplant, bell peppers, summer squash, and onions, but not green leafy vegetables. Now that saying we spoke of before about eating melons alone or leave them alone, regardless of the science behind melons, digesting or the traditional food combining rules, this one just makes sense. Melons are best eaten alone. Why is that? Well, it's because their simple composition of water, sugar, and fiber digests fast. If you eat melons with other foods that digest slower, like protein and fat or starches, they will sit in your stomach longer and run the risk of starting to putrefy. Make sure to eat them alone or 20 to 30 minutes before you eat anything else. And melons combine with no other foods except themselves. So if they are held back in the stomach at 104 while digesting, they will rot. Put a piece of melon outside in the sun at 80 or 90 degrees and watch it rot before your eyes. Well, the same happens inside your body. The next group, acid fruits, do not combine with sweet fruits. These two food groups definitely repel each other, and the chemistry of these fruits is not compatible. So you're going to have to avoid that fruit cup that you find in restaurants or health food stores. Ideally, you don't want to mix more than 4 or 5 fruits and vegetables together at a meal. Our digestive system's ability to efficiently process the foods we eat depends in part on not overloading the gastrointestinal tract. Some people believe in eating only one food at a time at each meal. This is known as a monotrophic diet. You should try it sometime and really see what that feels like. Digestion, assimilation, and elimination. If your issues are not due to poor food combining, they may be due to poor digestion, assimilation, and elimination. I've created another online class optimal health, whole body cleansing, which will explain all of this in greater detail. But to suffice to say, the more your digestion is compromised, the more likely you are going to experience things like gas and bloating, stomach pain, inflammation in the gut, allergies, acid reflux, and just about everything else that combines with poor digestion. Your digestion could be compromised due to poor or long-term food combining, yes, but it also could be due to limited release of hydrochloric acid, enzymes, bile, poor gut flora, gut inflammation, and other issues that some experts regularly misdiagnose. So what you may think is improper food combining may be something that will never be solved by eating more simple raw foods at certain times. In fact, this practice may cause you to be even more selective in the foods you eat, since you're so sensitive, when you really need to be more selective in the supplements you give your body to help you digest the foods that you are eating correctly. You are only as healthy as the food you digest, assimilate, and eliminate, not just the food you eat. Auto-intoxication. If you're not assimilating what you are taking in, food combining is not the first thing you need to worry about. Getting your digestive tract back on track, that is. I've heard many health experts say that they can't eat certain foods that are healthy anymore because their bodies reject them. When this happens, they turn to a more monotype eating one food at a time. There's nothing wrong with this practice, but if it's done because they believe their diet needs to be cleaner, in reality their digestion is getting poorer and poorer, and their nutrient pool is getting shallower and shallower, because they eat only, say, like mangoes or just apples. Then they're getting themselves into trouble and can cause serious nutrient deficiency. So it's something to consider, and in my previous presentation, Optimal Health, Whole Body Cleansing, goes into this in greater detail. Wholesome combinations. The digestive tract can vary its digestive secretions, either could be acid or alkaline, and the timing to meet digestive requirements of different foods. It can do this if foods like cereal, legumes, or potatoes are eaten alone. Complex meals are not seen in nature and are not digested with much efficiency by humans. You know, it was interesting. When I was at a zoo, I saw them throw in bread, fruit, and a head of lettuce into the primate exhibit. And what was so interesting is that the monkey came over and ate the fruit first, then walked around, swung from the different trees, came back around, and then ate the bread. Then took off and ran around and did other things, and then came back and then started eating the head of lettuce. I thought that was fascinating to see what animals naturally would do. It did not put a piece of bread, the lettuce on top, and then the fruit on top of that and eat it all together. So, simple meals digest better. You may already know this, but the fewer ingredients you add to your meals, the better your digestion will be. The rule we like to follow is eating with generally 5 or 6 ingredients at most. This doesn't necessarily mean that if you eat a salad with 3 types of lettuces that you have 3 ingredients accounted for. What I'm talking about is that there's much more liberal science to this food combining. Eating a raw food nut plate with seeds, nuts, vegetables, soy sauce and then eating a salad with 10 different raw vegetables and finishing it off with raw food cheesecake with berries on top is what I'm asking you to stay away from. That meal probably has 20 to 30 different ingredients that will make your stomach twist like it was a rag wringing itself out. The best way to find out what works for you is to experiment with different foods in combinations at different times during the day. This will give you the best knowledge possible about how your body is working. You want to write down what you've eaten to get an even more accurate picture. Learning for yourself and practicing what you've observed is the best way to cut through what others think to actually know what works for you at a particular time in your life. This is true knowledge in its purest form. Improper food combining. Digestive system struggles, and it does its best with the strong and vigorous individuals that we are. But when a person is weak or sick, impaired digestion is taxing and even disease-producing. Carbohydrates and fats give your system the brakes, literally. Fats digest the slowest in your system. Carbohydrates the fastest. Just knowing this gives you a hint as to why eating the two of them together excessively can cause some digestive unrest. Eating foods that elevate your blood sugar, like carbohydrates, and foods that are high in fat can also slow the effectiveness of the insulin that is released into the bloodstream, causing more insulin to be secreted. This is a bad mix, because the more insulin you release, the more fat you store, and the more likely your body and cells will become insulin resistant, which is a code for prediabetes type 2. Vegetable and fruit juices have therapeutic uses, which we will go into in part 3. Juices. Fruit and vegetable juices are what I call nature's multivitamin. As long as these are fresh and have not been pasteurized, they are considered raw. Juicing is a great way to extract the nutrients from plant foods. This does not leave the fiber behind, however. On a natural, primarily raw plant-based diet, we are getting fiber in every food that we eat. What we leave behind in juicing fruits and vegetables is not a problem. Animal food contains no fiber, including red meat, chicken, turkey, or fish. Juicing for good health. Why is juicing so important? Vegetable juicing is critical to good health because it is an important source of raw food. Each of us needs raw foods every day, and juicing is an excellent way to make certain you're receiving large quantities of raw foods. Many of us have relatively compromised intestines as a result of poor food choices over the years, which limits our body's ability to absorb all the nutrients from the vegetables, and juicing tends to facilitate this absorption. Vegetable and fruit juicing is also well suited for the fast-moving lifestyles which we pride ourselves here in the West. It makes it possible for busy people to add more healing foods to their diets with minimal effort in the shortest amount of time. What's actually in juice? Well, we have proteins, carbohydrates, vitamins, fats and oils, minerals, and pure water. Juicing helps you absorb all the nutrients from the vegetables or fruits. This is important because most of us have impaired digestion. Juicing will help to pre-digest them for you, so you will receive most of the nutrition rather than having it all go down the toilet, literally. Juicing allows you to consume an optimal amount of vegetables in an efficient manner. If you are a carb type, you should eat 1 pound of raw vegetables per 50 pounds of body weight per day. But some people may find eating that many vegetables difficult, if not impossible. But it can be easily accomplished with a quick glass of vegetable juice. You can add a wider variety of vegetables to your diet by juicing, and many people eat the same vegetables, salads, every day. So you might ask yourself, why not just eat fruits and vegetables? Fruits and vegetable juices are a good source of the nutrients that we need. Citrus fruits, like grapefruit or oranges, they provide healthy portions of vitamin C. Carrot juice contains large quantities of vitamin A in the form of beta-carotene. A number of green juices are a great source of vitamin E. Fruit juices are a good source of essential minerals like iron, copper, potassium, sodium, iodine, and magnesium, which are bound by the plant in a form that is most easily assimilated during our digestion. Plus, since juicing removes the indigestible fiber, these nutrients are available to the body in much larger quantities than if the piece of fruit or the vegetable was eaten whole. For example, because many of the nutrients are trapped in the fiber, when you eat a raw carrot, you're only able to assimilate about 1% of the available beta-carotene. When a carrot is juiced and you remove the fiber, nearly 100% of the beta-carotene can then be assimilated. Fruits and vegetables provide one of the most substantial sources of essential vitamins and minerals for good health. And it also provides water, which the body needs. More than 65% of most cells in the human body are made of water. And in some tissues, for example the brain, the cells can be made up as much as 80% water. Water is absolutely essential for good health, yet most people don't consume enough water each day. Plus, many of the fluids we do drink, things like coffee or tea, soft drinks, or alcoholic beverages, are artificially flavored, and the drinks contain substances that require body to be removed from the body, or they act like a diuretic. Vegetable and fruit juices are free of these unneeded substances and are full of pure, clean water. Organic produce. Unfortunately, a lot of our food has residue of pesticides and insecticides which are used on the plants, which are toxic and can't be washed off because they're internal into the cell of the plant. Pesticides tend to reside in the fiber and is filtered out when we juice. It's always advisable to use organic produce whenever possible, yet with juicing, the toxic chemicals are removed from the produce into the pulp which you don't drink. Therefore, it doesn't necessitate the use of organic produce when you're juicing. How much juice should I drink? Well, any amount is better than not drinking juice at all. And it's recommended you drink at least 12 ounces of juice 3 times a day, at least 1 hour before or after meals. At the healing center that I worked at, you can use more for things like detoxification or cleansing the body or even rebuilding the body. The vegetable and fruit combinations depend on what the body needs. Juice combinations. Ideally, 50 to 70% need to be green. Greens include things like parsley or wheatgrass, celery, spinach, kale, chard, dandelion, broccoli. You want to rarely mix fruits and vegetables together in a juice. Specific combinations do specific jobs. For example, a juice made of a combination of carrots, spinach, and ginger is good in the winter. Beet, carrot, and cucumber cleanses and boosts your overall body. There are hundreds of different combinations. The storage of your juice. Juice is best drunk freshly juiced, and vegetable juice is one of the most perishable foods there is, and ideally it would be best to drink all your juices immediately upon juicing them. However, if you're careful, you can store your vegetable juice for up to 24 hours with only moderate nutritional decline. You can slow down the oxidation process by not combining your juices until you are ready to drink them. And the best way to preserve your juices is by putting the vegetable juice in a glass jar with an airtight lid, filling it to the very top. There should be as little air in the jar as possible because it's the oxygen in the air that will oxidize and damage the juice. Just think about what happens when you cut an apple. It turns brown when it's exposed to the air in a very short period of time. So it's a good idea to use an opaque container to block out all light, which would also damage the juice, and then store it in a refrigerator until about 30 minutes prior to drinking, since ideally the juice should be consumed at room temperature. So what kind of juicer is best? There is a wide range of juicers and also a wide range of prices. Those really cheap centrifugal juicers, which can be found on the market, normally will not last very long and will have poor juicing results. In this way, this is a sort of investing in your health. Juicing with a cheap machine most always has bad results, which could cause you to stop juicing totally. For this reason, we would suggest saving your money and not purchasing a machine at all until you can get a better one. So centrifugal juicers are good for beginners. The middle-class juicers are represented by a single juicer. Most expensive juicers are dual-gear juicers, as they have the best juicing results, or they pull out the most amount of juice from the produce that's juiced. Juicers that do not generate heat are the best because any type of heat destroys essential nutrients. The blade needs to titrate and masticate the fruit or vegetable, which will then also give you the best source of those nutrients coming out. Before you juice, of course, you always want to wash your fruits and vegetables in fresh water. Use a vegetable scrub brush to remove any debris. If you're not using organic produce, remove the skin on thin skin items like cucumbers or apples, carrots. Many of them are waxed for longer shelf life. All that has to be removed. Cutting your produce into pieces that will easily fit into your juicer will really help it work less hard. You don't want to force anything, but cut the small pieces to ensure a smooth fit. Some produce will fit as a whole, depending on the type of juicer that you're using. What are enzymes? Well, for another example, consider fresh fruit's ability to deliver another important group of nutrients known as enzymes. Enzymes are your body's workforce. Enzymes, which act like catalysts in hundreds of thousands of chemical reactions that take place throughout the body, are essential for digestion and absorption of food. They also convert foodstuffs into body tissue and for the production of energy at the cellular level. In fact, enzymes are critical for most of the metabolic activities taking place in our body every second of every day. Fresh juices are a tremendous source of enzymes. In fact, the freshness of juice is one of their key features because enzymes are destroyed by heat. When you eat cooked foods, whether it's meal, grain, fruits, or vegetables, if the food is cooked at a temperature above 114 degrees, the enzymes have been destroyed by the heat. Since fruits and vegetables are juiced raw, the enzymes are still viable when you drink the juice. Coincidentally, many of the phytochemicals that nutritional researchers are focusing their attention on are either enzymes or are substances that help build or activate enzymes, which play an essential role in protecting our cells from damage. Also in juicing, like we mentioned before, has to do with water. Water is the most plentiful substance in the body, which constitutes over 60% of our body weight. And water serves as a lubricant to joints. It's an insulator and a shock absorber. It also helps maintain our body temperature. The truth is that dehydration causes disease. Things like asthma, hypertension, ulcers, allergies, and arthritis. Everyone knows that water is good for the body, but not how essential water is to well-being. They don't understand what happens to the body if it doesn't receive its daily water requirements. The solution for the prevention and treatment of dehydration is to drink water, more water in our body, and also juicing. One question often asked is, do vegetables contain protein? Well, the answer is yes. Not large quantities of protein, but some have them. Fruits and vegetables contain protein in relatively small amounts when compared to other protein sources like fish and meat, poultry, eggs, and dairy. Protein without the fat contained in meat is what vegetables provide. Vegetable protein is quick and easily absorbed by the body, and it's an excellent source of complex carbohydrates and dietary fiber. Legumes are vegetables that have pods, and they are a rich source of carbohydrates and proteins. Soybeans have the highest quantity of plant protein because they have all the essential amino acids that your body needs. Beans, snow peas, string beans, lentils are other types of legumes with proteins and carbohydrates. However, their proteins do not contain all the necessary amino acids. Green leafy vegetables, including spinach, broccoli, lettuce, bok choy, and celery, are low in calories because of their low sugar and protein content, but high in dietary fiber content. And dietary fiber is the indigestible portion of the vegetable that your body's enzymes and bacteria do not break down for the use of energy. It passes through your intestinal tract with little or no change. Tubers are a group of vegetables that have a large structure to store carbohydrates and nutrients. These include potatoes and yams. And like green leafy vegetables, they are a poor source of protein, but they have large amounts of complex carbohydrates in the form of starch that your body can use for energy. So proteins is the next most plentiful component in our body. And fresh juices, depending on the vegetable that you actually use, will contain a full complement of amino acids if it's a protein. And it also aids in digestion, which are enzymes. So carbohydrates often have a bad reputation, but you need carbs to fuel your brain and every cell in your body. The sugars in fruits and vegetables have advantage over sucrose, which is refined sugar. They are balanced by a wide range of nutrients that aid in sugar utilization. Fats and oils. There is little fat in fresh fruit or vegetable juices. The fact that they are present are essential to health. And essential fatty acids function in our bodies as compounds for nerve cells, cellular membranes, and hormone-like substances. Fats also provide the body with energy. Oils you can add to your juice recipe include things like fish oil, which is a terrific source of omega-3 essential fatty acids. Evening primrose oil, which is a source of omega-6 fatty acids. Flaxseed oil, which is a source of omega-3 fatty acids. And cod liver oil, which contains vitamin A and vitamin D, as well as omega-3 fatty acids, as well as providing the right types of fat to your body. These oils can also help the body intake fat-soluble vitamins that your fruit and vegetables can contain. Vitamins, essential for the chemistry of the body to function properly, but are readily destroyed by cooked foods. There are more than a dozen major vitamins essential for your health. Vitamin C, D, E, and K, along with the B complex vitamins. Vitamins take part, along with minerals and enzymes, in chemical reactions. For example, vitamin C participates in the production of collagen, one of the main types of protein found in the body. Fresh vegetable juices are an excellent source of water-soluble vitamins, the B complex and vitamin C, and some fat-soluble vitamins like the carotenes known as provitamin A and vitamin K. Minerals are essential for all the chemistry of the body to function properly, and it's essential to structural parts of the body, including bones and teeth. There are about 24 minerals that your body needs to function properly. Minerals, along with vitamins, are components of enzymes. Minerals also make up bone and blood tissue and help maintain normal cell function. The major minerals include calcium, chloride, magnesium, phosphorus, potassium, sodium, and sulfur. We also need trace minerals. Those that are needed in smaller amounts include boron, chromium, cobalt, copper, fluoride, magnesium, nickel, selenium, and zinc. Plants incorporate minerals which occur in inorganic form in the soil into their tissues. And as part of this process, the minerals are combined with organic molecules into easily absorbable forms, which make plant food an excellent dietary source of minerals. Juicing provides even better mineral absorption because the juicer already pre-digested that plant. It's more absorbable than the vegetable itself because the process of juicing will liberate this into liquid form. Vitamins and minerals in vegetable juices are fantastic for the body. Phytochemicals. What are they? Well, they're chemicals naturally found in fruits, vegetables, nuts, and legumes that may have a positive impact on our health. Phytochemicals are plant-derived chemicals that are not considered vitamins, minerals, or macronutrients, but are nonetheless confer health benefits when consumed. Some phytochemicals act as antioxidants in the body, which scavenge free radicals to help prevent them from damaging our cells. Other phytochemicals act more like hormones, taking direct action within the cells. Substances in plants linked to good health and the prevention of disease, and phytochemicals are only found in fruits and vegetables, like beta-carotene. And they're also a great source of antioxidants and anti-inflammatory effects. Here are some books as a resource that I used for this presentation. The first one, Fresh Vegetable and Fruit Juices, has a fantastic chart in the back which gives you what different combination of juices can do for the body and how specifically they can help in certain challenges or illnesses a person is suffering from. The information from this webinar does not constitute advice, and the accuracy of the information is not guaranteed. Further, users are advised to seek professional medical assistance in the event that they are suffering from any medical problem. Congratulations! Now that you've finished this presentation, you must complete the final exam that was sent by attachment. If you didn't get one, or after you've completed the one you received, email your answers to cugini.d@gmail.com. When you receive a 70% or higher pass grade, you will receive an e-certificate of achievement for this 4 continuing ed hours of this NCB-TMB approved online massage therapy distant learning course. An e-certificate will be emailed to you at the email address you provided upon registration. Thank you. Beacon Wellness Arts Center is approved by the NCB-TMB as a continuing education approved provider and is also sponsored by the NCB-TMB to teach New York licensed massage therapist continuing education that is accepted by the state of New York for license renewal and the Florida Board of Massage Therapy, as well as 20 other states that require continuing education for massage therapy.